Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella came in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.
Nothing. Hello everybody, welcome to the live stream, and you've just got me tonight, so we'll say an hour, but it'll probably run into 2 depending on your questions. So you've all had a good weekend. It's absolutely it's muggy and warm here, but I've got doors open, so we're all good. Been busy this week, had a few things to look into. It's still a bit quiet on Cliff Tops. I think Linny's in, I saw him earlier, and well, he knows that, and Pete, we're all going up there just saying nothing's changed and we'll continue because we know it'll switch. So I hope you guys have got some questions ready for me. I've got loads of reports that I'm going to share with you tonight, and give us your views on them. Let us know what you think. Last week we had Philip Mantle on, didn't we? And I don't know why I didn't do it, but he'd already sent me his book. So UFO Reflections, let me just put that there, guys. You can see it's a thick book. So be all right for, you know, holding the door open or something, if not else. But no, I'm only joking. Good book. So that's Philip's book. So yeah, excellent. And thank you very much for sending me this book. This is a rare book, and it's got a signature. It's the first edition. I appreciate whoever sent me that. You know who you are. Thank you. That's appreciated. Thanks for sending me that information. Yeah. Okay. So just a few thank yous this week, and appreciate all you guys and support that you give Truth Proof. And I see Dragonborn's in, Karen Behrman, I see Gemma's doing moderating, I think Lee's in, London Girl, Mrs. Linny's in, Mia Girl, I think Mia Girl were in early doors, so always great to have your support. Purple Pipkin, Jack Newcastle, Drew Hollins, loads and loads of people, and we'll do a bit of a shout out later. But we'll get through a few of these reports because you sent to like it a few weeks ago when I did that. So we'll do it again. But I'm going to read one that I read last week. There's a specific reason. And I got contacted a few weeks ago by a lady called Victoria. Not say her surname. And she told me that as a young girl, well, let's see if we've got it up here. We'll read this. 1 second, guys. So I can get that up. Right, we're going to do that one shortly. I'm going to do this, what I've called the car chasers first. And I think we all know what I'm talking about if you've experienced this on the moors, on a lonely road, usually at night, because otherwise these lights that don't illuminate a lot of stuff wouldn't be pacing your car. But this is just an experience that this lady had, Lindsay, a few years ago. And I spoke to Lindsay this week. She's actually done me a little bit of video of the location where she had a UFO sighting, which is brilliant. I'm not going to play it because it's about 5 minutes long, and she's going to do a little bit more to add to it. Then I can put it together as something for you guys to watch. And she just walked us through an experience. Well, driven us through it, to be honest with you. But yeah, really, really interesting. So we'll start with this one. Once again, we're going back to 1997, 98. What a prominent year. What an incredible year. 98 primarily for me was, and 2009. Lots of high volume of UFO activity. So, hello, my name is Lindsay. I'm 49 years old and I've had a few odd experiences in my lifetime. But today I'd like to talk about the summer of 1997/98. I was around 20 to 21 years old at the time, and I was out just about every night with my friend. We would go to Doncaster and Wadworth for a night out. I know Doncaster and Wadworth really well, so this is sort of all locations I'm familiar with. Even if we had no cash, we would drive around basically laughing and enjoying the summer. One night, or rather early morning, we would make our way home anywhere between 12 and 5 a.m. So, they did enjoy a night out, didn't they? As we came around the bend at Wadworth and started to make our way towards Tickhill. So there'll be some people in here who are familiar with this location, but if you're not and you're remotely interested, just Google these locations. Spent loads of time around Tickhill, to be honest, years ago. We noticed what looked like a motorbike headlight behind us, and my uncle used to do up old Triumph motorbikes, and that light is just what it looked like. Okay, so there we go. We know that. The old Triumph motorbikes. We could do a live stream on Triumph motorbikes. First bike I ever had, TUE35G. So it gained on us rather fast, but then we realised that it was in the field to our left. So obviously not a motorbike. We were extremely puzzled as to how a bike was travelling so fast in the field. Then in the blink of an eye, it was two lights. So we thought, oh, maybe it's a 4x4 in the field. Okay, one sec, guys. What 4x4 in the field? Let's have a look. Although still rather strange as it was so late, or should I say early, and we had not seen any traffic at all. And the lights reminded me of the old Mini Metro lights. My dad had a Mini when he was younger, a Mini Metro. Then the lights got to the side of the car we were in, and they were totally independent lights. They were on their own. How many times have we read stories like this and had people experience it? I mean, some people, it fills them with complete fear. Imagine being on a lonely road, but there's two young women in here, I don't know. Let's just get to it. They were bright white, had a slight glow, but they didn't light anything up. We felt very unnerved and continued on towards Tickhill. You know, there's more and more people, guys, saying this now. As you know, we've highlighted, let's face it, we've highlighted these unusual lights that don't light up an area around them, but they're very bright. It's fascinating that. I'm just scrolling down comments, I don't want to miss out because it flies up at this end, guys. We were nearly at Tickhill and they just vanished. Throughout the next few months, up to say mid-August, we saw the lights almost every time we came out and were down that road. And it was as if we got used to them. They didn't scare us. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, and sometimes even 4. Sometimes they were straight with us on the whole road towards Tickhill. Can you imagine, as a researcher, as an interesting party, if you knew that were happening? This is earlier hours at morning, obviously, guys, but you'd want to be investing some time there, wouldn't you? So if you've got an area like that now, tell us about it. There's been a sighting yesterday, which I'm going to tell you about in a bit. Right, sometimes they were straight with us the whole road to Tickhill, at the side of us, and sometimes they dipped up and down in a wavy type of dance. I'd go as far as to say in a playful manner. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that. That's what makes it worthwhile, and that's what you guys are wanting to hear, I hope. So there's another sighting from this lady, so we'll do it, shall we? The next sighting, and there's an image with this one. I mean, it's not exactly Picasso or whatever, but it texts us there. It's good enough, and I like it when people send me an image. Right, at some point I started working at a pub in Tickhill. And after work, one evening in mid-August, I would stay with my mum and dad near Staton, near Maltby. My dad picked me up. It was dark and it was a lovely summer evening. We headed towards Stainton. My dad is a big music lover and had a CD on, and we were chatting away with the windows down. The smell of summer and crops in the air. It was still warm. It was a really nice night. When we turned towards Staton, we both stopped talking and we were both looking up towards something that we just did not recognise. We were on a bend before the Brave Men Monument for men who died in the tunnel under the road when the pit collapsed. I said, "Can you see that?" And my dad said, "Yes." Dad pulled over and stopped the car. We were both in total silence. Whatever this was in the sky was making no noise at all. That was totally silent also. I saw what I think might be an average church height building. So that she's using that as a reference. And if you imagine looking at an average church, it didn't look like a church in sky, but that kind of height. Whatever this was in the sky was making no noise. I have no better words for it. So she's done as a sketch, guys. Let's just have a look at this sketch. So that's what it looked like. She reminded her of an ice cream cone, if that makes sense. Let's just carry on with this because my writing's gone right. I would describe its shape as one of those flat-bottomed ice cream cones with a protruding ring about 3/4 of the way up, like a gallery or of some sort. I cannot remember seeing any doors or windows, but it was large. There was absolutely no sound to this at all. So this is just in a blank sky. There's no buildings around. There's nothing to create this effect. And this is how she's describing it, as big as a church. Wow. So, all right. We looked at each other. My dad said, "Get in the car. We'll have a better look at it from round that bend." We set off. It was only a few seconds, but when we got there, it had totally vanished. There was no sign of it, yet we both know we had seen it. So that's good. What do you reckon, guys? I think that were quite amazing, a brilliant sighting, and we know it's 1990s, but it's no less relevant if you guys have never heard it, I don't think. So Lindsay's done a little bit of driving and talking in that location and walked us through that, which you'll be getting to see, not tonight, but in the next few weeks, because she's going to add a little bit more to it. So thank you for that. Right, we've got a question here. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Paul, remember John from Middlesbrough, who did a short about a close encounter in Hemmington in the 80s? His encounter was filmed and broadcast in the new Blaze programme, We Are Not Alone. No, I'm not sure that I do. So not so much a question as a ask me if I remember something. I'm not sure I do. I don't watch loads of TV. I've done some work for Blaze myself, and I've never seen them. So I don't know. I'd love to be able to help you with that. I take it there's a reason for asking that. We'll just go down and see if there's any more questions. Paul, could some people mistake crow drones as UFOs? There's loads of things, Christopher, that people mistake as UFOs, and I'm not trying to tell anybody because I think we all know. We spend a lot of time, as I always say, up on those cliffs, and there's something that appears in the sky overlooking towards Flamborough, and it's a very bright light. It comes bright, and we look at it, it catches us every time. And by the time we realise it's not a star, it's like you look away and it's there. And then just as you want to get a camera on it, it just fades out of existence. But it's got to be man-made, I think, to be honest with you, because it's too repetitive. We might see it twice a night every time we're up there. It doesn't make sense in a clear blue sky why it's doing that or what it is, but it's something man-made, some kind of satellite. And then you get the other satellites, we get the other things that are up in high outer atmosphere, and they'll flare up bright and then they just disappear, and you can almost count 15 seconds and then they'll do it again. So I don't see why drones couldn't be mistaken for true unknowns, and they'll remain true unknowns until somebody solves it, let's face it, won't they? That's what I like about these historic sightings, like Lindsay's sighting there. It'd be hard to explain something as she described it, as big as an average church in 1998. I think that's when it were. It might have been early 2000s, because obviously she said she'd just started working, didn't she? But it's hard to think, oh, that would a drone. This is back in late 1990s. So there's a lot more potential nowadays to fake stuff. People can produce bits of film, can't they? And they can have made this stuff with AI, and it's difficult, isn't it, to tell what's genuine and what isn't genuine. Before we go any further, yesterday a guy rang me, quite out of the blue. I don't know him, David, and he lived in Goole. He asked, "Is that Paul?" kind of thing on the phone. Yeah, it is, yeah. He says, "I'm in Goole and I'm looking at an object that's very high in the sky. It's really, really high up in the sky on a beautiful bright day." He said, and we've been watching it now, I think he said with his son for a few hours. So he says, "Will you go outside and have a look?" Well, it's 45 miles away. But I went out anyway. I had a look. I rang Chris Mack, who's probably in chat because he's a lot closer, and he were driving towards West Hull. I asked Chris to have a look. Nothing to be seen. Now, this guy had got his neighbour on with it as well. His neighbour were looking at it, and he took a few photographs with his phone, which are, they're poor, but let's face it, he's been good enough to ring us up. I think what's more important about this sighting, And once again, it could be something man-made, guys, is that they watched it for 5 hours. And the only 5-hour UFO sighting that I know of is that one at Flamborough Coast Guard Station, which I might tell you about. I've got no information to aid me with it, but I think it was 1967, and somebody's going to pull me up and say it was 63, but there you go. So, but I've recorded a little bit of conversation this afternoon with Dave, because I thanked him for sending me photographs. So I'm going to put you those up now, and I'll put you the photographs up and they'll just go in sequence, and you can just hear what he says about it. Okay, guys, I don't know what you'll think of this, because the pictures aren't great, but what interests me is it's a 5-hour sighting, and even if it's a man-made object, does somebody watching this or somebody connected to this know what it could have been? So let's have a go. To look at it, he said he could see 2 objects, didn't he?
At one particular point when he had binoculars on, I only had 8B30s on it, so I could see a big part of the sky, so every time I looked up I knew where it was. His were slightly more powerful, and at one point he looked at the object and he thought there was 2.
That's brilliant, that, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there you go, guys. That's all it is. The little red dot, I asked him to check. I asked him to go outside today and take a few more pictures, because I suspected that were a pixel, and it is. So if anybody sees that little red dot in pictures, that one's been solved. So, Goole, did you see that in sky around the area of Goole yesterday? I'd be interested to know if anybody else did. Earlier in the week, I met up with Chris Wright on Thursday, and myself and Chris went into Wycombe Forest, and we met up with a witness. He'd travelled a 45 minutes an hour to see us, and he wanted to tell us about a cryptid sighting that he'd been in the forest with a group of friends. I think he said about 15 to 20 years previous, and one of his friends had seen what everybody else is describing to us: 7 foot tall, fur covered. I don't know, what would you call it? Do you want to call it dog man, werewolf? Call it whatever you want. I still find it hard to bend my head around, but I love it when people come forward with these reports. It were about midnight. We're going, it will be around in between 2000 and 2006, and there'd been reports in area of a big black cat. That's why they went into the forest. They're just young fellas then, 19-year-old, 20-odd-year-old, and the 4 of them went in Dave's car, and they went into that forest. And they said Dave, I think it was Steve. They went in his car and they went into that forest. They left car and walked for about half a mile, and just milling around. They're not going to see a big cat, are they? Let's face it, me and Chris go into them forests on a regular basis, and I talk about the cats, and so does Chris. And I think people imagine that we're trying to actually look for them. We know that we're not going to see them going in, we're talking. But these lads, young lads, they heard reports of the cat near Wrench Green and around Wycombe Forest, so that's why they were there. They're walking down one of these little leafy lanes, quite close, packed trees either side of them, and this guy's friend suddenly took fright. He said he were a big fella and quite handy fella, didn't frighten easy, and he just turned and started running and urged them to run. Come on, let's get out of here, let's get out of here. He says, we didn't do anything. He says, we just casually walked back. Surprised by this fella, he says he got back, he sat in car. He says, and he's absolutely shaking with fear and asking us to drive. And he told them that stood in the forest, he'd seen something that we've just described. He didn't see ears, he just saw the outline of something that he estimated to be 7 foot tall, with orange to yellow eyes. No lights on it, self-illuminating eyes. You know, guys, I realise how hard it is for a skeptic stroke debunker, and I realise how easy it is, but I also realise how hard it is for people to come forward and talk about it. But I realise how easy it is for a debunker and a skeptic to just shrug this off and say, what a load of rubbish. But it must frustrate you, if that's what you are, and you can't bend your head around it, when independent people keep coming forward with these reports, because they're not stopping, are they? Do you know what I mean? It's not like there's one or two. There's loads of reports coming out of these areas. You know, look at Dan and his wife who saw that thing, and that's not far away. That were at Broxer. You know, there's so many reports. I've got more. There's a report that we're going to be chasing up, and if you think cryptids are a wildest thing to look into, somebody claims that they've seen almost a, how would you describe it? The apparition, the something like predator effect, but it were a dinosaur. Seriously, I'm not asking you to believe these things, but I'll go and speak to them, and if they'll go on, allow me to record them, because the guy that I spoke to on Thursday night, I've recorded that, and if this lady will let me record her, I will. I'm not asking you to believe it, it's a new one for me, I'll be honest with you, but let's just jump back to the cryptids. More and more people are reporting these things. I did a report last week, and this is what I opened the stream up with. If you remember, I was going to read her report, and I will be doing shortly. I'll just have a look, see if there's any more questions, guys, because I see Blue Shift Rob's in. Let's have a look. Disabled Welshman, Tony Worrell, Jojo, Andrew Hunter, Carl Dan. Good to see you, Carl. Let's have a look. Julio, chance before I speak. Let's have a look. What's this? Paul, did you ever get the chance to speak with Howard Hughes before he passed away about his father's money? I spoke to Howard many times, Julio, off the record kind of thing. We spoke about lots and lots of things. So yeah, I did. And Howard were going to come on Truth Proof, to be honest with you, and it never happened. Do you know, he did the Unexplained Cruises, Howard, where they travel Mediterranean and they do all sorts of things. And I'm not just saying it because he's not there to put his hand up and say, yeah, but I was the first person he asked, and he asked me every year. And I turned him down every year, but one of my favourite people, such a sadly missed, amazing radio presenter. I mean, I could never fill Howard's shoes, and I don't know who could when it comes to the subject of the unexplained. I don't think he's... well, the likes of Howard, it's the rare. He's not going to come round again, is he? Let's face it. But what a great bloke. Thank you for that. Just for giving me a chance to say that, because I absolutely loved the man. He was absolutely brilliant. So let's have a go. Thank you, Nigel. Let's just keep going down, and then we'll do a few more of these stories. I don't want to just bore you with my waffle. Jim Woolard. Let's have a look, Jim. I think our government knows more about the phenomena than any other. We're the first modern superpower. British Empire territory anywhere. Good secret keepers. Well, I suppose all governments, Jim, all governments of the world are brilliant at keeping secrets, aren't they? And there's good reason to keep secrets as well. I don't mean that, we should be lied to on a constant basis about everything. But if UFO technology has been garnered, if somebody's got these things or got knowledge of this, would you want to give that information away? Would you really, or would you be quite happy if you developed some kind of weapon or some surveillance equipment that can fly stealthily? Would you be quite happy for people to believe it were a UFO in the true sense of the word? There's loads and loads of different ways of looking at this, isn't there? And not every UFO is a true unidentified. I think a lot of it, 99.9 and a bit, is easily going to be explained by somebody within government. They might be just smiling to themselves and saying, well, look at these idiots on Clifftop, look at what they've filmed, and it's something we've made. I don't know, but I don't want to take the power away from the people looking for the true unexplained, because that's what we're doing, and that's what gives us a buzz. And you guys, it's out there, it's real, there's things to be found, there's things to be seen, so never lose faith in that. But I think the governments of the world are keeping secrets for lots and lots of different reasons, and not just to keep the subject of UFOs from us, to reveal. It's giving away power to tell people about these things. If you've got knowledge of them, you're giving away power, and then maybe that's the big reason. Let's have a look. Nell McKay, Linda. Let's have a look. I don't read these, so I hope they're all right. Thanks, Janice. Yeah, but no sightings, unfortunately. There you go. Not a question. There's no worries. Let's have a look. Do you think there are more unexplained encounters near the coast in North Yorkshire compared with the moors? What a great question. Because to some people, to some researchers, their area, it's like a competition. They want it to be some kind of UFO hotspot or cryptid highway, whereas we're not bothered. We are happy to hear about reports from all over UK. So I don't know. I think if you've got a group of people as invested as what we are in a certain area and that's already got a history of activity, I think you're going to see it. And I think it fluctuates. And I think a lot of you guys will know that anyway. Same as like on the East Yorkshire Wolds. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself here, but it was so active in early 2000s to about 2007, 2008. Then it just petered out. And it's maybe started up again now. I don't know. I've been going up on a Thursday night with Steve Ashbridge. We've been having a little run round. We've done a few old places where we used to go. But I think he's just gone on holiday. I'm not certain now he's going on holiday in the next few weeks. So I'll not be going. That's what I mean. So is it more prolific on coast than on moors? Probably not. Probably not. When we went to, myself and Les were making Wolflands and we ended up at Silfo, we spoke to somebody who lived up in one of the cottages up at Silfo, and he told us about a nephew that used to come in his holidays and come as a young man. He'd still come to visit them, and he spent hours in the back room upstairs room of this property looking down onto the forests, because you're looking out onto miles and miles of forests. And he claimed he saw strange luminous lights just moving about, not in the forest but over the treetops and things. I think these areas, all the areas, are active. Long way around there, guys, but we got there, didn't we? Let's have a look. I'm going to want to do another story in a minute, but have you watched Point of Contact on YouTube about the alien captured in Mexico and one person died when he took... No, I haven't, no. I suppose I'll have to watch some of these things. There's a guy wanting to come on live stream, and it'll come to me, his film. It might have been this film. I'm not certain. And he's asked me a few times, and I haven't ignored him, but I've just not done anything about it. Life just takes over for me at the moment, and I don't find much time to do loads of things. Let's just have a look at some of these stories. I can see questions, but if not, we're never going to get to them. Right, let's have a look. So this is Silver Orb Observation. So this is from a lady called Vicky. I found your YouTube channel and I'm really liking the energy and feel of and it feels like a safe place. I'm going to share my first unusual experience. Some things that I've got into are bizarre. I don't even know how to describe them. These involve out-of-body journeys and dealing with dark entities. So we might get some of that later, because I'm still waiting for a few more bits of information from this lady. But this experience is much easier to explain and much less dark. It was around 2007 to 2008. That's the sort of time period. I was in my late 20s. It was springtime and I was sitting in my back garden. My location is Yatton, North Somerset, just south of Bristol. It was a fresh breezy day with deep blue skies and cotton wool clouds. I was looking up at the clouds and saw a shiny silver tic-tac shaped object hovering completely still next to a large cloud. Okay. For some reason I felt very observed. So she's fixed on this object, and for some reason, I wouldn't say instantly because I don't know, but pretty quick, she feels like it's watching her. That's fascinating, isn't it? This intermind connection that I've talked about before. And I'll do a little story on that in a minute. Like it specifically was watching me. It was there for maybe 30 to 40 seconds. I remember saying in my mind, "Hello, I see you." Then it darted sideways behind the cloud with speed and agility that regular aircraft just simply cannot do. Bear in mind, this is the late 2000s, so drones weren't available to everyday people. It also had no visible rotor blades. It was just a shiny silver object shining in the sunlight. I very rarely talk about it because my family are pretty indifferent when I told them. My family were pretty indifferent when I told them. They do generally dismiss me when I share unusual, non-mainstream things. Well, yeah, I think we all know that, guys, don't we? We're in chat. So I keep things to myself. So nice to be able to share it with you. I haven't seen a UFO since with my physical human eyes. I'm 46 now, so it's a long time ago. To be honest, I don't really look for it. I know this report isn't very exciting. I know it's historic. We're not bothered. We like historic sightings. Keep sending them if you've got some. But you are welcome to share it if you feel the call. and also share my name. Okay, thank you very much. I really enjoyed reading that and sharing it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a story that I did a few weeks ago again. There's a specific reason, but let's just have a look at a few more questions, shall we, guys? Let's have a look what we've got. 450 people in here. Thanks for support, guys. Really, what's this? Looks like the bucket with the handle pushed down. Ah, I get it. The picture. I see that disabled Welshman. Paul, will you ever give the backstory to the meeting, the bowl of water and the tongue lapping from it account? No, I won't, if I'm being truthful, Andrew. And as you can see, I don't read these because I probably wouldn't have read that one out. If anybody knows what it's about, then they know what it's about. It's pretty dark. And there we go. But thanks for asking, you know. Let's just do this. We've got to have, sure sounds like a weird experience. I'm looking for questions, and I know I'm reading as I'm doing it. Right, let's have a look. I just watched a film about a bank robbery I've seen before. I was convinced that the bank owner ended his own life. The ending was different on screen, inexplicable. So we're talking about the Mandela effect. Does anybody think that they've experienced the Mandela effect? Plenty of people do. I mean, we talk about getting people on as guests, and I get loads and loads of people contacting me asking if they can come on. And sometimes it's easier just to do this, guys. And I don't mean no disrespect to people, but when you do a bit of research on somebody and then last minute they don't turn up, I just find it annoying. But not everybody does that. So, Mandela effect. Have you anybody in chat experienced that? Have you got a story to share with us? Well, I'd love to hear about it, but I can see that Scotch Mist is thinking the same. And while we're on with guests, a friend of mine's a clairvoyant, Janet. She might even be watching this. And she offered to come on the live stream. This was a few weeks ago when I bumped into her. She says, I'll come on the live stream if you want it. But just give me an idea, guys. I might not get to your answers, whether not Janet in particular, because she's a lovely lady, but whether you think the Truth Proof would be going a little bit off track if we have a clairvoyant on. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just wanting to gauge the opinion of you guys because, like I say, it's your stream. And some people aren't going to agree, are they? Let's face it. I don't want to cause an argument. I can do that with my wife quite easily. Right, let's have a look. And what are your thoughts on crop circles? I think some of them are genuine, Lisa. What are the motives behind the intelligences doing the crop circles? Well, if the man-made ones are just pranks, aren't they? Let's face it. So we know what those motives are. But I went to see one. I tell everybody, I sound like a broken record. I went to see one in Rudston years and years ago that I were told I could have a look at it, providing I didn't broadcast it or take people on and turn their land into a thoroughfare. So I believe I believe that there are some genuine ones out there. And I know I've told the story, but you've set me on with this now, Lisa, of the crop circle that appeared at very on the outskirts of Wilsthorpe, where the Wilsthorpe roundabout is. There's as you're going towards Barmston. I'm saying all these locations. I realise you guys half of you don't know where they are, but there's a field and they've grown a crop in it. Let's say it were corn. And I spoke to a farmer face to face. He told me this story. He'd got an old combine harvester, and I know some of you guys will have heard it. And he had a liver-coloured spaniel dog. Let's just paint picture. No air conditioning in combined at all. He said it was stifling on an hot day. It were not unbearable because he had to do it, but it weren't good. Dogs sleeping in, I'd like to say footwell, but I've never been in a combine harvester. So dogs sleeping to the left of him in combine. And this particular day, when he gets up to cut the crop, there's a crop circle, bottom of field, actually near the road. Just a circle in the corn, nothing elaborate, no great message for mankind, just a circle. And that's what I saw at Rudston. When the head of the combine hit the crop circle, his dog got up and started howling in the cab. As it passed through it, the dog got settled down and curled up and went back to sleep, or did what it were doing again. He also noted that it became very cold when he were going through the crop circle. Interesting, because I put this out there to people who research crop circles. Has anybody ever had a pole and with an instrument to check air temperature to see if there is a difference in air temperature? above crop circles. That's something worth checking, because remember, he's high up, he's in a combine. The dog perceived some displacement of energy or something different about that whole area where the crop circle was, which tells me this is something genuine. Does it? I think to anybody listening to me relay this story, I think we know that there's got to be some genuine element to that. So he said, I don't know how many passes he had to do before he cleared this crop circle. Well, let's say 3 or 4. And every time the head of the combine hit it, the dog did the same thing, sat up, began howling, and he felt the temperature inside the cab of his combine become cooler. So just an interesting one. Thoughts on crop circles? I think some of them are genuine, Lisa, I really do. And I was going to tell you something, weren't I? I forgot now, guys, when we were into that earlier. The 5-hour sighting. So this guy, Dave, and his neighbour, they filmed this, just a sphere, high up in the sky. You've seen pictures. They're not brilliant, but for me, what interests me is the fact that it's a 5-hour sighting. I think there was a 5 or a 5.5 hour sighting back in 1967. I'm torn between 67 and 63, but we're only splitting hairs here because it doesn't matter. And that were at the Coast Guard station at Flamborough, obviously back in the day, and Coast Guards observed this object with binoculars, and they watched it from about 5 in the morning till dinner time, or 6 in the morning till, do you know what I'm saying? They watched it for 5 hours anyway, 5.5 hours. It was documented in newspaper. They got I think it was the Bridlington Free Press reporter out. He came and he's looking at it through binoculars. There's a good article on this, and they described how it changed shape. They said it was huge, and at one point it looked like a bullet, sort of rounded at both ends. At other times it changed shape to become a triangle, a white triangle with a black line running down its side, and it was huge. And they watched this thing, and it moved. It ended up above Filey. They could see it. Remember, Filey would only be 6 or 7 miles away from the Coast Guard station, and when you're something big high up in the sky, you're going to see it. And then it came back over Flamborough, and it may have been there even longer, but they said that they documented it. So that's probably, and this sphere that Dave saw, they're absolutely exceptional as regards lengths of time that these things are seen, don't you think? It's fascinating. Right, let's just go down here. So, disabled Welshman, I bet Lindsay was scared out of her life. I should imagine it did unnerve her, disabled Welshman. Yeah, I imagine it would. Let's have a look. Okay, guys, we'll do a few more of these questions. Then when I want to just do a report that I did a few weeks ago, because there's a reason for doing that. Right, let's have a look. Data centres increasingly using seawater for cooling could increase unexplained encounters near the coast rather than inland, be related to technology, either military or extraterrestrial. I don't know. I don't know what the reasons are. You know, and I always say location is key, and it really is. Location is key to a lot of these sightings, let's face it. You know, and some areas just seem to be more prolific. Somebody sent me something today, and I was sort of musing it over and talking about ley lines and energy lines, and where they cross is an area that's got a lot more potency and potential power. And I was thinking about dowsing. I don't mean we're going to do it, but there's certain areas in the places that we go that just seem a little bit more concentrated for the activity, a little bit more prolific. And we had a guest on a couple of years ago, Maeve Calvert, who was a dowser. It would have been brilliant to have said to Maeve, take your dowsing rods and let's just do this area and just see whether any of these locations cross. You know, that'd be quite an interesting exercise in itself, because there's a certain area up there. I mean, Gemma's doing moderating tonight, and she saw it, her and Bob Brown, where that white square appeared and then dropped to the floor. It's in a similar area where Bob Brown took that picture of something that just appeared as he's trying to take a picture of a hovering kestrel, and he's got the picture. It's the same area where myself and Lee Hayward saw that huge orange sphere on the hill. On the side of the hill, should I say. It's the same area where Mick Sigson said a UFO landed in 1998. And we could go on and on. It's the same area where Linny, who's in chat now, filmed that incredible sphere with his thermal camera. So do you see where I'm going with this? It would be interesting to know if somebody who's familiar with dowsing rods, we know that it's not rocket science, but it'd be good to get somebody who's really proficient at using these things to go into that area, and let's see whether there is a concentrated energy line, and let's see if there's another one that crosses. Just somewhat anyway. So right, anyway, let's move on, guys. Come on. So let's have a look. Jane Louise. Hi to Linny, Jack and Mark. Met on the cliffs. Was another man I can't remember. I think Chris Mack was there. And Mark, so you got Mark there, Jane. It was great to meet up with you and your brother, Mark, and Freddie other week. Yeah, really good. And Mark's knowledgeable. Interesting bloke, Jane's brother. Not that you guys aren't, but yeah. Man with a walking stick. Pete. That's Pete, yeah. And so we've done that. Let's what's this? Paul made it. What's that? The line psychosis is an experiencing. I'm not sure what you mean there, mate. What's the line? I don't know, guys. But we read it just the same. Right, let's have a look. Nell McKay. I don't think debunkers realise how many people have seen things. I think you're right, and there's nothing wrong with debunking things or trying to debunk things. I think that's what we do after all, and I think as interested parties, that's what you guys should be doing. I really do. I think we're on the same page. We know that we love the unexplained. Everybody who's in here tonight, I would think, unless you've just come in to laugh at us. But most of the people in here tonight have got a story of their own, or you know somebody that you really, really trust, and you've put faith in their words, and it's inspired you to become interested in subject. But at all times, we should look for an answer, a logical answer. But it's brilliant when you can't find one. So it's a great question. Before we go any further, let me do this story, because I'm itching to just do this. Right, so this is from Victoria, and I spoke to her in the week, and she's going to come to Bridlington in the next few weeks. I'm going to meet up, just walk us through this. So I'm reading it to you guys now, but it'll be better when witness can talk us through it, because I love it when we get a first-hand witness who's willing to not necessarily go on camera, but just a little bit of audio. It all helps. It all puts more meat on the bone. Need to speak to you about an experience I had as a child. Okay, I watched your episode on the Green Man encounters and believe I saw one myself as a kid on the way to a school trip, to Bridlington. Okay, so we're going back a few years. I don't know the road. So this is what she's saying. This is why we're going to do it again. I can only describe it at the time. I can only describe it. I was around 7 or 8 at the time. But as the coach stopped in traffic, it was close to a wooded area. Something made me look out of the window to my left. It was just like time and all the surroundings stopped, almost like I had tunnel vision. Okay? A face stepped forward out of the trees for what seemed like a few minutes. Then everything kicked back into real time, and the coach continued. I cannot remember the name of the road I was on when I saw the face. However, I can remember every twist and turn of the road. I have been passed since whilst a passenger a few years ago now, but it was one of those flashback moments, and I never thought to check the sat-nav. I was transfixed almost on the flashback. So obviously she's driven that road as a mature woman, and realised, oh, this is the road where I saw the face, but that focus, she's not really fixed on road. Right. I remember it being it was a school trip, and they tended to take the lesser used roads. The face was almost bloody looking at the time, however. More over the years, I have come to believe it was brown or red. Or it was brown or the red of almost looking like tree bark. It had amber eyes, but I could tell it was a man's face. Is that fascinating, don't you think? I've never forgotten this of all those years. I'm 50 in October. I never knew what the Green Man was at that age, and I put it all down to pareidolia or something, but I was never satisfied with what my eyes saw. Well, luckily, this lady as it sort of stirred the memories up again, and she's driven to Bridlington. I didn't meet up. I am going to do it next few weeks, but she drove there with a father. I think her father wanted to come to Bridford Day or something. She took the route and she sent me some pictures. She says, this is the road it was on. This is where I saw it. Wait, see this, guys? Anybody familiar with that? Do you know where that is? There's another one. That's the entrance to Danes Dyke. It's fascinating, don't you think, that we've got a lady who's seen that all those years ago. And once again, what have we said? Location is key. Incidentally, where that picture is, where that picture was taken, that path up there is where Ian, on his mobility scooter, claimed that he saw that thing step out onto the road. It's where the guy coming home from nights on the Bessingby night shift saw eye shine as he's coming down the road and claimed that this thing was knelt at the side of the road. He described it as looking like something from the American Werewolf in London. If picture were a bit wider, there's a bus stop just at the other side of the road there. It's where that guy was changing his boots, ready to get on bus at about 5 o'clock, 10 to 5 at night, when this thing that looked half human, half dog, in his words, put its face through between the gatepost and the fence. I could go on and on, but I found that fascinating that this location came up again. Location is key. Let's not forget that. Let's have a go. Let's just, shall we, right, do debunkers. Let's have a look. Michael Simmons. We understand why you don't believe, but it's very real. We understand why. I'm not sure what that applies to, Michael. I probably missed the point there, mate. So let's just keep going. Let's have a look. Paul, do you ever get a result from the plaster cast? No, nothing. I sent pictures to Jeff Meldrum, but I realise now why he never got back to me. He was very ill, weren't he? Danes Dyke. Funnily enough, hold on. Do you mean this? Yeah. So I never did all else. I've got some cat prints as well. Let's have a look, guys. You've got me on with something now. Or are they cat prints? I think I can see claws. Do you see them? It's big, but I think if we're looking at claws, we know that cats retract their claws. But if I see how interesting, I'll put a bit of plaster of Paris in it and we'll have a go. So no, I didn't do anything else with that. But life's pretty much full on at the moment with everything. I think everybody's is, isn't it, guys? And it was strange that, because I know Mark, who comes up to Cliffs with us, he set a trail cam up close to that area. And he caught loads of wildlife, but nothing of an exotic nature, should we say. Let's have a look. Sending a nanu. Very good. Yeah. Banana, Jojo. Let's have a look. Lee and Linny, we've got ears. Let's have a look. What's this, Linny? Paul, have you got a report of a large black thing seen by Simon and his wife near Ford, and it crossed the road and over the hedge? Have you got a report of a large... Unless somebody's going to send me a report, Ian. No. But while we're there, you've took me here now, and because I'm trying to think, it will come to me. I don't think I have. So unless somebody's going to send me a report, which if they've sent it, I'll have a look in. I don't know. I look at emails every day, so I've not seen anything. But up around Forden, if anybody's familiar with this, there's only about 4 or 5 houses in Forden and a tiny church. But when I wrote Truth Proof 4, there were a farm security man, or did security for quite a few farms around area, and he claimed that he'd been sat in his vehicle when something, what some people would describe as hay fever, guys. Sorry, something what some people would describe as a werewolf. Can we bend his head around that? Can we keep doing it? Because I keep saying it. Nudged the side of his car and he saw it. He said he saw it in his mirror. Made an hasty getaway, should we say, and ended up at the top of near Staxton Brow. Sat there. He said it came back again. All of these stories. Now on that road from Forden to Staxton, when you come out onto the road where you go down Staxton Hill, as you're going along that road, there's a pond on the right hand side or left hand side, depending on which way you're driving. I contacted a farmer there years ago and asked him if I could set up cameras and a hide and film the wildlife, and he allowed me to. But I'd got a specific reason. A black cat had been seen crossing the road and going to the pond by more than one person, and I spent about 3 days there. I know in grand scheme of things it's not a long time, but you know, I have a life as well, you know, and I set up a hide. I was very quiet, I was on my own, I don't smoke, so there'd be no, probably this thing would have smelt me, but do you know what I mean? I went, all the giveaway signs I'd tried to avoid, and I sat there hours and hours and hours, and I just caught nothing. And I set trail cams up, but I never saw it. Do I believe it were there, or it had been seen there? Yeah, I do. But unfortunately, I never got to see that. So, large black thing seen by Simon and his wife near Forden. Do you know, Ian, you could probably bell ring when I speak to you about that, but at the moment it's not doing out, mate. Sorry. Kim King. Let's have a look. I'm thinking many of us still listen to Howard's Unexplained podcast. Always soothing to hear him speak. Weren't he brilliant? Yes, absolutely. Weren't he just a diamond? He really was. Somebody accused me of not paying a tribute to Howard when he passed, and that really annoyed me because I thought, well, Howard. Anyway. The US government has just released more footage. Yeah, and I think this is the 5th batch, isn't it? And I don't know what's in them. It'll be just more at same fodder. And it sounds like a boast, but I'm pretty sure that we've got better footage obtained on those cliff tops and different areas we've been to than what's being released in these files. And then somebody else is going to say in questions, oh, why don't you show it, Paul? We do show quite a bit of it. And if you look at the British UFO files, the Ancient Aliens are probably, they might have run it now, but because I haven't seen it, they're using quite a bit of my footage in that. So that's somewhat anyway. Let's have a look. Hi, Paul. Aside from the lights you've seen as a group, have you had any recent experiences of your own? We're getting not experiences in the spirity, ghosty sense or UFO type sense, but a few things. I don't know whether you'd call them unnerving, but I'm speaking to people regularly on phone. I'm not hearing it. They're hearing it, which is voices, robotic voices. And there'll be people in chat now I've spoken to who know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's not just resigned to me. Ian, who I've just mentioned now, he's heard it. Pete's heard it. Chris Max heard it. I'm not sure if Carl Dan has, but there's lots and lots of people heard this voice that sounds a bit robotic, a bit mechanical. So what that's all about, I don't know, guys. But there you go. Right, let's just... but experiences of our own? No, not really. But it happens, doesn't it? You know, it'll just go in fits and starts. These things happen, but not recently. No. Let's just keep rolling down here, and then we'll have another story if we've no questions, guys. And right, let's have a look. I wonder if there are scientists from other planets researching the Earth. But that's a good wonder, isn't it, mate? I don't know. I should imagine, but don't you think it's frightening that somebody in their infinite wisdom has sent our DNA blueprint and everything about us out into space? Some people might think it's, well, why? We're on a living, conscious thing in the universe. Well, I don't think that, do you guys? And I'm sure you don't. So you've sent all information about mankind out into space. I hope we're not some kind of harvest. I mean, look how we treat anything that we see as a food source. It's a frightening prospect, isn't it? And I don't think it's something that should have been done. But are they researching Earth? Have we been, I don't know, placed here? Okay, that's a strange concept, isn't it? Have we been placed here? And people looking at our progress? I don't know. Would we look upon those people as God? I don't know that either. I don't know much, do I? But I think we're all in the same boat, and those that say that they do invariably know absolutely sweet nothing. That's let's have a look. I am subscribed, a huge fan. Just having a few brandies. Oh, sounds like a plan, that, Gregor. No, I don't like brandy, to be honest with you, but if you do, enjoy. I've just got to cut down on my pies. And that way, I was losing weight, guys. I was losing weight a few weeks ago. Well, guess what? I found it again. So I'm not very good at that, am I? So, Ian Passy, are plasma balls likely to be a side effect of military physics? Could be. You know, they could be, and I really don't know. And it loads me to keep saying I don't know, but like we've just said, or I've just said, the people with all the answers invariably know nothing. At least we hold our hands up on Truth Proof and we put that information out there and try and let you guys make up your own minds rather than be guided by some know-all who tells you he knows everything. The lights seen over the sea, is that intelligent plasma? The ILF's intelligent light forms is what I called them back in 2002, and I still stand by that there's some kind of sentient awareness to these lights. When you go to put a camera on them and they switch off, you're thinking, but how does it work? That's what I'm going to do. Thanks for this question. The intermind connection. How does that work? How does that work when that lady, I forgot her name now, Vicky, looked at the silver orb in the sky and instantly felt that light, or that orb, was watching her, and it was watching her back. You know, how does that work, this awareness with these objects? And it's a thread of the same that runs through all aspects of the unexplained, don't you think? So we've jumped to the cryptid phenomena, and you know where I'm going with this. Then, you know, when the hunter lifts his weapon up and he's going to aim it at one of these creatures, and it sends a message into his mind that it's not a good idea to do that. How does it know? Where do we get this intermind connection from? I first thought about this when I got a report from a fisherman on the cliff tops of Bempton who'd gone up there early in the evening in winter, but it's dark, and he's set his tackle up, he's fishing there, and he's looking out to sea. He's not looking for unexplained lights, he's after catching fish. But he notices above the horizon, God, my nose is itching, guys. He notices that above the horizon, but in the sky, huge bright light that he takes to be a planet. If it were a star, it'd be the brightest star in the sky. And it's one of them moments where we go, I didn't notice that star before, and then it just switches off and you realise it weren't a star. Well, he's watching this, and he's watching it for a few seconds, trying to work out why he's not seen it before, and then he said instantly, it's on top of me. It's above me. The ground has lit up like everything looks like silver, all monochrome. It's almost superimposed, and it's just for a few seconds, and then it's gone. Intermind connection. He'd connected with the visual, somehow had connected with this. No matter how many miles away, this seems a capability that these things have, and they seem to be able to predict your next move, predict what you're thinking, and these are probably reasons why we don't get these things on camera when we like to get them on camera. You know, the police officer who was up at Speeton, who went to get his phone to take a picture of this red light with the band around it, and just looked down to get his phone, and when he looked back up, it had gone. That took his mind off it. Then suddenly it's been replaced by 3 incredibly bright neon white lights that are hard to look at. But even so, he's still trying to bend his head around the fact that they're not illuminating area, yet they're hard to look at. How does that work? Goes to get his torch, puts his torch on just about an extension of his torch beam, because he's got a weak torch, he said. Goes to get his phone, they've gone. Intermind connection, there's some awareness. They seem to be able to predict what we're going to do. So, you know, I find that fascinating. So what we're doing here, so we've done... most of them, yeah, we've done that. Let's have a look. We've got loads more stories to do, guys, but I'm going down these questions because I get a few emails in the week saying, you know, you never asked my question and what have you. So let's have a look. Can we ask Paul to do some werewolvery t-shirts? I'm a believer. I just want a werewolvery t-shirt. Excellent. Do you know, lots of people are asking for merchandise, cups and other things. So really need to get that on the go, don't I? And car stickers. Oh, just give some suggestions, guys, and we'll get on with it. It's something that one of my daughters, Sarah, said that she'd organise for me. I just ain't got enough hours in day to do some other things that I'm doing as well. Letters. Got a letter. I love getting letters, don't you? So I'll just read you this. It's short. There's quite a lot in it, but I'm only reading you a bit of it. And this is from Denise, so thank you, Denise. And right, hi Paul. Just a couple of lines that about something that happened to me last year, August, September. We had gone to bed at 11 p.m. I was laid facing my husband's back, fast asleep, when I heard 3 knocks, just like one of the stories you told of the drumsticks, which sounded essentially like 3 drumsticks. Right, okay. Knocking together. It woke 3 drumsticks knocking together. It woke me instantly. I was wide awake, and I wondered what it was. Then I felt a strange weaving, snake-like movement at the bottom of the bed, working its way up from the bottom of the bed towards me. I grabbed my husband's neck and nipped him to wake him up. Then I blacked out. I was not dreaming. This was real. So there's some other stuff in letter, but I just wanted to read you that. So Denise, thank you. It's lovely when people send letters, isn't it? I mean, the world of the internet, it's something you don't get much of. So while we're on with that, so we'll do this one then, shall we? The books. Anybody interested in the Truth Proof books? The 4 books with all the reports in. You know, you got 1, 2, 3 and 4. They're all available on... Oh, it's raining, it's throwing it down, guys. They're all available on truthproof.uk or on Amazon as Kindle downloads. You can also get the Wolflands DVD by the same method, and that's also available on Amazon Prime. And anybody, night people, my own experiences from childhood to when the book were published, sort of thing, that's all available. Truthproof.uk, same methods. And usually, if I got an order for a book tonight or a DVD, it'll be in post tomorrow. So very rarely do I not send them out the next day. And if they come in daytime and I'm off into town, I post them same day. So, werewolvery. Let's do that. And don't forget, give us a like and subscribe, or a like, hype and subscribe. You know, you're sat there now, guys. If you're on your tablet, if you're on your phone, if you're on your PC or your laptop, it's easy. It's free. You're just giving us a little bit of support. Thank you. And let's have a look. Michael Pennock's in, and I also highlight Michael because he's got some amazing accounts to share with people. Michael, he's the guy that was in Pinchenthorpe Forest, or on the edge of the forest, camping when he had that strange experience. He's been on here, and he's got a YouTube channel that I recommend that you like and subscribe. Migrate to it. It's called Evidence Pending. And I can guarantee that Michael will put a lot of effort into that. Likewise, we also give a shout out to Josh Turner's Paranormal Roundtable, because I don't know anybody that can talk like Josh. I mean, he can just talk and talk and talk, and it's all interesting. Cryptid, Dogman related, UFO related. Josh Turner's your man, Paranormal Roundtable. And we've got Steve Stockton, and Among the Missing. That's a brilliant channel. So great supporters who give something back to the subject in the way that they do, need as much support as possible. Right, there's a lot of bits about Howard Hughes. Howard, did you make his account of seeing the cloven hoof being? I know not all, but I know quite a lot about Howard's experiences. So thanks, Purple. Yeah, and maybe I ought to do a stream for an hour. Little things that Howard's experienced and shared in his life, because so interesting. And you can see the amount of questions that's come up about him, how much people think of him. Lee's just put 464 in chat. Come on. Well, there's actually 483 there, so that's brilliant, guys. Thanks for the support. Right. What is the difference between dreaming and experiencing? It's a good question, Ian, and I don't know. I suppose if you're dreaming, then you know. But what do you mean by experiencing? Are you talking about a true, full-blown experience of seeing something? Is that what you're talking about? Then that you can differentiate that from the dream, surely. Has anybody had a dream of been in a? I don't dream much now, guys. I don't know why, but I don't. But in the past, having a dream and then getting up to use bathroom and then going back to bed and going back into the dream. I find that fascinating, and I've done that. Or what about within the dream, being conscious that you're dreaming? And I've done that, and I find that fascinating as well. Actually knowing I'm having the dream. It's almost like you've got a split mind. And there'll be somebody far more knowledgeable than me that can tell us how that happens and why it happens. But the difference between dreaming and experiencing. I suppose we're only semi-conscious, are we, when we're dreaming, Ian? And we wake up, and I can only remember fragments of things now. And usually, if I wake up and I think I've had a dream, I remember it when I'm laid there, and by the time I've got up, I've forgot. But the experiences that I had in childhood weren't dreams. And you might be sat there saying, well, how do you know that? I just do. The experiences I had from 1993 to 1997, when I saw the beings, weren't dreams. Unless somebody were putting holes in my back and holes in my arms when I'm having these experiences, I know they weren't dreams. You don't wake up with 3 holes in your back through dreaming. I know you're not saying that, Ian. I'm just trying to differentiate between a dream and a genuine experience. I don't know. People might have a better handle on that than I've got. Let's have a look. Very good. Nigel Sheffield. I think it would be interesting to get Janet on, Paul. So we're talking about Janet Wildman. She's lovely, Janet, and but as I say, clairvoyant. So it'd be a chance for people to ask questions, or Janet to get a feel of things. I mean, what do you think to clairvoyance? Do you think it's a genuine? Is it a phenomena, a genuine gift? I think in some aspects it really is. I think people can perceive things. I think people can get messages. Not everybody's genuine. I know a lot of what Janet does, she does out of goodness of her heart. You know, we had a lady come onto Cliff Tops, and we all talk about this lady because she had no prior knowledge, as far as we know, of what we were about and what we were doing. And she came with Maeve, the dowser who we were talking about earlier. And she just literally just poured out information, out onto us. And it was stuff that we don't think she could have known. And it wasn't just the odd word and a sentence and then a pause of silence. It was like a machine gun. So that was fascinating. Likewise, Mark came up, who was a clairvoyant, about 2 weeks ago with his sister Jane. Jane's in chat. Mark never said he were into clairvoyance when he came up a few years ago, and then ended up sharing a few things that he were perceiving and experiencing up there. So I think there's a place for all of these things. Oh, thank you. Don't let me stretch, will you? No, thanks a lot. It's raining, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. That's my tea lady. So let's have a go. Let's have a look. Nick and Mark, let's have a look. Paul, is it your show, and why not have I spoken to mediums with amazing experience? Oh, Paul, it is your show. And why not, Nick? I wanted to throw it out there, and I'm getting feedback now, Nick. This is good. I've got no problem speaking with mediums. I've spoken numerous times, but mainly on this show, we talk about UFOs, we talk about cryptids, strange fear type things that descend on people, all fascinating things. I just wanted to throw it out there, get the opinion of you guys, and opinion I'm getting generally is, yeah, let's bring this lady on and see what she's got to share with us. So we'll give that some consideration. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. This is not in capitals, is it? Question. What's the strongest local evidence of folklore behind Old Stinker? And how does it fit into the Wild Newton Triangle stories? Right, good question. Old Stinker. A lot of that were associated with what were called the Beast of Barmston Drain a few years ago. I tell you what I noted with the stories of the Beast of Barmston Drain. I'm sorry to deflate it for people. And I don't mean that something wasn't seen, because it most likely was. But when they did the news reports of it, they coupled it with quite a lot of stories about the alleged story of the Flixton werewolf attacking a coach. They just missed Flixton out, which is 45 miles away. Why did they do that? They talked about it attacking a timber wagon. That were Flixton. So a lot of these stories where they talked about Old Stinker and the Beast of Barmston Drain, a lot of the stories that they attached to it were from Flixton, which I'd actually researched and unearthed. And Flixton's 45 miles away from the alleged Beast of Barmston Drain. So what's the folklore behind it? I don't really know. All I know is that there's a lot of evidence to support something very strange, very unusual taking place in the area of Flixton and the surrounding areas. Don't forget, we've made our documentary Wolflands, all based on that kind of creature and the forests of North Yorkshire. So we started in Flixton. If you look, if anybody's watched Wolflands, we actually start in Flixton and then we just branch out and get into these areas which are all close. And we go back to the writings and the ancient writings that talk of an infestation of savage beasts in the area of Flixton. Talks about the Carman's Spittle, a refuge that was built in Flixton to protect travellers from an infestation of wolves. But then the writing goes on, and savage beasts. So what were the savage beasts? I'm not going to say they were werewolves. We don't know. We're sort of playing with that idea. And the Wold-Newton Triangle were a book written. It's a very thin book, a pamphlet of a book, but I think they wrote the word triangle. Anything with triangle attached to it, it seems to capture somebody's imagination. I don't think the Wold-Newton Triangle were that brilliant in many ways, the book itself, simply because there's no research gone into it. I'm sorry for saying that, but it's just stories from folklore. Whereas the Truth Proof books, I'm sat here now and I'd listen to him boasting about his books, but the Truth Proof books have created more folklore. I've got first-hand accounts from these areas. So how does it fit into the wider Wold-Newton Triangle stories? It fits. I mean, all those stories from what's been called the Wold-Newton Triangle, they're all ancient stories from folklore. Don't forget Wold-Newton and Burton Fleming. What sits in between those two locations is Willie Howe, the burial mound of Willie Howe, which is in that book, I believe, and I've written about there's the comparison. That book contains the story of the rider, the horse rider, who saw the circle of light in the side of the burial mound whilst driving home from Wold-Newton to Burton Fleming on this particular night, and there was allegedly a banquet of hobs and goblins, and he was given this cup of an unknown material. These beings, these entities allegedly gave him the cup. He poured the contents out and did a runner on his horse. Proper Yorkshireman. They never caught him. But what's interesting is the cup did exist. The story may just be some kind of fabricated, fanciful story to tell children. I don't know, but the cup existed. It was given to one of the kings of England and then passed on to one of the kings of Scotland. But it's interesting itself that this burial mound, when you look at the Truth Proof books, I've attached lots of stories from present day. That's the difference between the one story from the Wold-Newton Triangle and that somebody who's gone out and done a proper bit of digging and found a lot of evidence to support strangeness around that area. You know, we had Steve Colling on months ago when Steve said that he might be in chat now. He'd sat on the burial mound and heard the heavy machinery type noises from underground, where there's lots of stories. There's the pilot who flew over the burial mound, and as he's flying over in this vintage aircraft, and it's not in vintage times, it was just a vintage aircraft, and he saw a second sun. He saw the sun setting, and then he saw another sun, which confused him. Why am I talking about the sun? Because the plane wasn't equipped for night flying, and he said it was like his plane had run into a cobweb in air, or somebody had just put the brakes on. The plane stopped in midair, he says, and when he came to, it was night, and he landed the plane in a field because there's a tractor with lights on in the field. Interesting story. Have I spoke to that man and got a first-hand account? Absolutely. So I found that fascinating. Local evidence, local folklore, Old Stinker. It fits. Old Stinker. Yes, I ended up speaking to Native American Indians because I think what we're looking at is what they would call the skinwalker. It sounds very reminiscent of that. And this thing, and the things that we've talked about and depicted in Wolflands, and the things that I went to meet that guy in Wycombe, Steve in Wycombe Forest on Thursday, what him and his friends experienced, I don't know, early 2000s, they exist. They're real. But do they exist in a flesh and blood form 100% of the year, and they're just going under the radar and not being detected? I don't think so. I think it's a true paranormal entity that we're dealing with, and this thing that people call Old Stinker, I don't think is any different. I mean, I'll tell you what's fascinating about that. and I had Steve Collin to thank for that. He put me in touch with 2 Flixton residents. I love it when we get stories from people who aren't really interested in the subject, yet they've had a strange experience. And they'd been in Flixton, in Staxton Brow, which Staxton and Flixton are just literally, they're so close, you could merge into one village. But they'd been in woods up there. You've heard me tell this story before. They got 2 dogs. I think they were collie dogs. This lady's walking up there with her husband, and the track going up is probably about 5 or 6 lower than the woodland on the right hand side. So they're walking up and they can see their 2 dogs paralleling them on this 6 or 7 foot high banking as they're walking, or at least that's what they thought. Suddenly one of their dogs comes running up from way down the track, yelping and screaming and distressed. So that they looked, and what they thought were their 2 dogs, because they're only catching them in peripheral, is one of their dogs and the back and the tail of something else that's just invisible. Just the back and the tail of something else. Fur covered back, you can see all the fur, they see the tail. And this dog of theirs had gone running off. It weren't a particularly friendly dog, and they were quite concerned. It had been a rescue dog, and they wanted to catch it. It weren't fond of people. So they're panicking. They're really disturbed by what they can see. She gathers her other dog, shouts her other dog, and runs to the vehicle. And she said, there's a whistle apparently they'd not brought with them, and this whistle would have got the dog back. She goes home to get the whistle. Husband goes searching for the dog. Comes back a short time later, and he's coming. He's got the dog, and he's saying, "Get in the vehicle, quick!" And they do just that, because this fur-covered back and tail, essentially, of a dog is following them. How does that work? How crazy? Just when you think you've heard everything, you hear something as crazy as that. But what have they got to gain from telling such a story? Do I think this lady's genuine? Absolutely. And then I met up with the lady, and she told me this story. But Steve had lined another chap up who, I think it was a few years before, had been in the woods with his partner, and they were walking their dog, and in the same area they're watching not a fur-covered back and dog's tail, but they're watching a black oval-shaped, elongated, imagine a sausage, that's black, and moving through the trees. Similar location to, because we walked in the same location. This lady actually met me on the same day that I met this couple who'd seen that. So we, and they allowed both lots of people allowed me to interview them, and moving through the trees. And so once again, location is key. And what's interesting, if we'd have carried on going where this thing had been seen up to the brow of the woods, you're literally 200-300 yards away from RAF Staxton Wold. So, something unusual seen around a radar base. I know that, Victoria, is not all about old stinker, but it's fascinating that the old Newton Triangle stories, which are, a great collection of stories, but they're just stories that have been out there for years and years. It's just stories from folklore. What I like is to find these locations with these stories from folklore, and then find other information to pack around them. Here's an example. A few weeks ago, I went to speak with Steve. James Coppett and Steve, the taxi driver who was at Glaisdale when he saw this black orb on the road. This, and he said, for all intents and purposes, when it moved, I was thinking it's a rabbit. And I said to him, well, what shape was it? He says, well, it was a black orb. It was the blackest thing I'd ever seen in my life. It was like a tear in the universe. I said, did you see legs and ears and head? He said, no. But something's suggesting it's a rabbit, which is interesting. But a few miles from there, you've got a place called Danby Dale. And folklore talks about the witch hares, as in witches apparently, that can transform into hares. There's not so far away from it, 2 miles away, and we're not so far away from the shape of a rabbit and the shape of a hare, the witch hares of Danby Dale. So there's a bit of work to do there, and a little bit of digging, and now we've put that short film on the YouTube channel. If you've not seen it, go and have a look at it. Well, not immediately, but you know what I mean. Now we've put that film on, other people might come out of the woodwork and share a bit of their own information. Let's have a look. If the world is layered with dimensions and all points in time and space are linked, there is no such thing as the Mandela effect. It is a result of reality being more complex. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. Yeah. It's still fascinating, isn't it? Right. Raincloud. Paul, why do you think that people see a wolfman? Do you think it's historical to the area? I don't know. I don't. I also think that more people are seeing this thing now. I think that due to channels like Truth Proof and brave people coming forward and saying what they've seen, it's giving other people that are sat in silence, who daren't talk about it previously because who's going to believe me? You know, it's a safe place to share sighting. And but why do people see a wolfman? Is it wolfman, dogman? We're only dealing with a name here, people. People get right precious, don't they? And it's got to be a dogman. I don't care what you want to call it. Just acknowledge the fact when decent people have come forward with nothing to gain to share something as highly as unusual as that. It's historical to the area. I think it's got to be location based. The forests of North Yorkshire have got stories of phantom hounds with huge glowing eyes that go back hundreds of years. When I was researching for Wolfland, I found in an archive in Bridlington a paper, I think it was from 1920, and it was written by a man called Howard Brearley, and he was writing and talking about the Barguest of East Ayton, a huge phantom hound with glowing eyes. He said flaming glowing eyes. Oh, these are the eyes that people talk about today. He's just talking about in 1920 in a different way of expressing and describing it, because he didn't have the words that we've got today. If they did, they weren't using self-illuminating eyes. But what's interesting, Howard Brearley documents that, and he was probably talking about stories that are long, long lost in time, that he'd have known about things over 100 years ago that we don't know now. But he's documented it in East Ayton. East Ayton sits between Flixton and the Forge Valley. We're only talking like between 5 and 10 miles, and you're in the heart of all these stories and accounts that we've gathered to make the Wolflands documentary, which is fascinating, don't you think? Well, I do anyway. Are we creating new folklore? What do you think? Are we? We may be. We're not making it up. That's why I love it when the witness comes forward and I say, can I just record a few words? I usually start with, would you go on film? And invariably they say no, they don't want to. So could I just record a bit of audio? Then it's not just Paul talking, is it? Right, let's have a look. Hi, Paul. If you found out the phenomena was pure evil or even demonic, would you keep researching it? Yeah, I probably would. Not with some kind of glee that I want to be involved in this, but you know, like I've said to you guys, night people, my own experiences, and I say in night people, I do not know whether these things that I saw in childhood were alien in the true sense of the word, some unknown entity that people look upon maybe coming from outer space, or demonic. I really don't know. I still don't know. I've no idea, and I don't think people do. I mean, we're only guessing and surmising. There may be some people, there may be, even if these things spoke to you and told you that, would you believe them? Do you know what I mean? They've kept themselves under the radar all these years, so do you think they're going to openly come out and tell the truth? So I don't know. Right, let's have a look. If I've had Mandela effect experiencing, but it was purely that I'm one of those people who was convinced he had died. I was so confused when the benefit concert happened. Okay, fair crack, yeah. And you know, a lot of that could be us thinking something, and obviously and then if you don't actually hear from the person or the event or about it, over time those thoughts become set in stone and you're convinced it's happened. So, but there's kind of mass Mandela effects out there, aren't there? And I'm not pro Mandela effect either, by the way. I'm just saying that maybe we need somebody on who's got some expertise of that. Shall we do another story, or am I going to carry on with these questions? Let's have a look. We'll do this next one. Hi Paul, what are your thoughts on belief versus knowing? A lot of us want to know things, but not believe that, but not believe in them. Find out what we can. Yeah, but there's a belief and knowing. And well, if you're religious, then you believe, don't you? A lot of people do. I mean, there may be a knowing if you've had that kind of epiphany moment where something's actually happened that gives you the knowing. As long as it's not blind faith, and I don't just mean that religiously, there's nothing wrong with believing, in my opinion, that these things are out there, that this type of thing exists. But then there's the people that know, and a lot of those people that know, I think, are in the chat now. You'll have had an experience that's so profound, even though you can't explain it, even though you probably don't even want to talk about it. There's a knowing. That, you know, you've slipped over from believing. You maybe didn't even believe. You maybe were neutral about it until it happened. But once you've had a profound experience, then there's a knowing. You wake up in 1997 and you can see these beings outside here. I'm talking about myself. And they're there. And you've got pain that's excruciating in your back. And you wake up with 3 holes in your back. Decent sized holes, if you've seen picture that my wife took, and luckily she did. She had the good sense to take a picture that morning, back in 1997, with one of them cameras that just pops a picture out. And I got the medical records as well. That don't make it that don't make it cast in stone that I'm telling truth, guys, does it? But that's what happened. It's my truth, and I'm not going to bend it to suit somebody else. That's a knowing. Just my thoughts on that. We'll do another story, shall we? Let's just have a look, guys. All right. That's second memory. Let's have a look. Give us a sec. Funny, this Barmston Drain. No, I haven't got the picture to show you. Damn Barmston Drain beast. Right, time slip, Bridlington. Don't think we did this before. I've been a Bridlington resident since being 7 years old back in 1970. When we moved to our second house on the south side, it was on Belgrave Road. In around 1976, my mum had just begun working at Sarah Lee's, probably the biggest employer in town, situated on the Carnaby Industrial Estate. So they used to make cakes and confectionaries. I think Linny knows a little bit about that spot. My mum worked there on the back shift, working roughly mid-afternoon to around 9 at night. There was a staff bus to collect people from around town to take them on to their shifts and to the factory and drop them off later. I believe this was the late 80s, early 1990s. One of my mum's best friends, a lady whom my mum worked with, arrived at work and recounted what had been a very disturbing experience that she had following the previous back shift. Apparently the lady had alighted from the bus, as in left the bus, and found herself in a completely unfamiliar urban area. So she knew where she was going. The bus hasn't ran on and taken her somewhere else. She got off at that stop, but it's a different place when she gets off bus. She wandered around for what seemed like a very long time, trying to find a familiar place. Whilst doing so, she saw a church that certainly wasn't the local one on the south side. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, the lady had said that she arrived home much later due to whatever had happened. So I find things like that, you know, I find that fascinating, don't you guys? These little time slips, shifts in reality, or did she have some moment and lose a memory? You know, there'll be somebody going to say that. So let's just do another one. Okay. I'm currently halfway through the night, people, and it's reading, and it is reading that has pushed me to reading night, people, that has pushed me to contact you. The part about bedtime being a time of fear and lying in the dark, feeling scared and waiting around for something to happen really struck a chord with me, because that's basically what happened in childhood. After these experiences had happened night time, we'll never say them again. In my case, I believe my experiences fall into the ghost and haunting category, but of course it's hard to be sure about such things. I grew up in a 3-bedroom terraced house in Willoughby, just outside of Hull, so not far from your normal area of interest. My dad was a bus driver and my mum was just a housewife. I wouldn't say just a housewife, but because they work hard, don't they? Money was tight, but in general, I had a happy childhood until my mum fell ill when I was aged 10. Apart from the happenings I am going to describe below, the master bedroom was at the front of the house and was my mum and dad's room. The other two were at the back of the house. The large The large one was my dad's train room, where he had a model railway and his workshop for building kits. The small box room was my bedroom. Right, okay. It was decorated with wallpaper featuring nursery rhyme characters. The one I remember was Humpty Dumpty. The wallpaper looked old-fashioned to me, and I've just realised I've started reading this, and all those things I'm reading now will make sense at the end of this, but we don't have time for this. This guy sent me a book of experiences, but we'll do this one to the end, then we'll start something else, and we might have to devote, I reckon, an hour to this guy's stories. I didn't understand the concept of old-fashioned or have the vocabulary to express it. It was just a feeling I got from the room, and that the room was old. Although it was a young age, I was at a young age. I remember the experience has started when I was still in my cot, but I can't remember that far back in any great detail. I have a vague recollection of being in my cot and feeling scared. Once when I was standing up in it and the other laying down, but I honestly can't remember what scared me. When I was a bit bigger, I moved into a bed. My parents bought a bunk bed just in case, but they only had me. Now there's loads more to this, which the reason for buying the bunk beds, but as I said, we've not got time for that tonight, but I'm just throwing it out because we will do this again. So they used the bottom part of the frame to make a single bed into which they placed both mattresses. The bed was positioned at right angles to the cot, to where the cot had been, along the wall where the window was located. I've drawn a map, and he has, and I'm not going to show it you because it's going to spoil it for Rest at Stories, which we'll do next week, hopefully. I've drawn a map of the upstairs of the house to help you describe everything. I would wake up for no apparent reason in the night. Usually it was dark, but not always. Indeed, I remember waking relatively late one morning and thinking that it hadn't happened yet, but it had. Then it did. It hadn't happened yet, then it did. I would lie awake feeling increasingly anxious to the point where I was shaking with fear at times. Eventually a face would appear from the curtains, as if it had come through the window. You know, I wrote this in Night People. You know, the faces in the curtains. And so I haven't written this, by the way. It never disturbed the curtains, which were closed. It just seemed to appear out of them. Do you know that line, guys? I wrote about this in Night People, as in my own experiences. And I never thought that the faces that came out of the curtains as a child, I never gave it a thought that the curtains didn't move. So that he's learnt me some of this guy. At first it was to the one side of me, then it would turn and come directly towards me. It was grey in colour, quite light grey except the eyes and mouth, which were much, much darker. There was no detail to the eyes, or not fully anyway. In fact, the whole face did not look fully formed. I could see it clearly, even in the pitch dark, which is strange, isn't it? All the time it was moving, it was accompanied by a do-dum, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum noise. Okay? I'll always put it in there. Will make sense in the future emails. The face would only stop around a foot from mine and make a noise that I can only describe as blowing a raspberry. It would then fly over my right shoulder, seemingly through the wall behind me. I was always terrified, but I couldn't make a noise until it had gone. As soon as it had flown off, I would start crying. So there's more to it, but we're going to end it there. We'll pick that up because there's a list of emails from this guy. So I'm looking at time, and I know I'm not going to get through them and get through some of these questions. So it's interesting because all those little pointers that he talked about at the beginning all tie in at the end. And I didn't get it at first until I'd read it all. So I just didn't know where we were going tonight with this lot. Okay. Beliefs and knowings. We've done that, haven't we? Let's have a look. Paul, when I come down next year, let's have a look. Gregor, okay. Can I take you pilling on my ZZ 1400 Performance Sports and tour about for a day? Tell me when you come down next year. I'm not saying no. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? A motorbike would be more exciting for me than going out on one of those fishing boats, because a few trawler lads have asked me if I want to come out. They frightened me to death. So we'll see. And 1400, good God. Right, let's have a look. David Caton and Robert Hull's research crop circles is top notch, and to sum up a small sample, they're likely ET related. Most are man-made, like the M15 related people to muddy the waters. Yeah, I would, and it does muddy waters, doesn't it? Not let's just jump away from crop circles. Let's throw it out there for everybody. The people that are spending time in these locations, our team, people all over, people like yourselves in chat now, you're investing serious time trying to find evidence. Some of it doesn't need to be photographic or filmed, just evidence of something highly unusual usually to, I don't know, to please yourselves and convince yourselves of what you'd seen and experienced yourself. And then you get other people coming out and faking it, going into forests and making noises and things just to try and create, I don't know, a bit of content or try and enhance an area. I mean, we stand on those cliff tops week in, week out, month in, year in, all the time. And we don't report tons and tons of stuff. We'd love to be able to show you stuff week after week after week, but it's just not there. Spent nights and nights in forest. I'm off in the forests later this month, so there's probably not going to be a live stream. I'll give you dates later this month. I think it's after 21st, because I'm off. Me and the Bobster are off into forests. We're gonna spend a few nights camping, 3 or 4 nights camping. He'll love it. I'll be frightened to death. No, but it'll be good. But I bet you. I'll be amazed. I want to go in. I want to experience these things. And that's what we're there for. But I'll be amazed if I come out with any thermal footage. I mean, we've got to be hopeful, or anything that's relating to it, because it's just so rare. A lot of the times we're looking for this stuff, and the people reporting it are the people that are just walking about, getting on with their lives, everyday business, and seeing things of a highly unusual nature. It doesn't perform to order. I realise we've jumped from crop to circles there, Tim, but yeah, David Caton, absolutely great guy. I've had him on here a few times. I think we've had Robert Hulse on as well once, but we've had David on a few times, and really interesting. And I love the work that David did. I don't know if he's as busy now, but then again, I know he'll probably be in his 80s, so he's probably not going to want to do. Let's have a look what Rachel's saying. Mandela effect. As a teenager, I had a cream T-shirt with coloured flecks by the Fruit of the Loom. I swear blind, the logo on the label had a cornucopia because I had to ask my family what it was. It's interesting, isn't it? And I'm assuming then, Rachel, that it changed, or it's not got that on now. Yeah, fascinating. That's Al Durham. Good to see you, Al. Hi, Paul. Any further information on that Middlesbrough sighting you mentioned? For myself, I said I was going to get in touch with you, didn't I? And I didn't do. Al, are you around after live stream? I'll give you a call if you are. And Andy, Ghost Whisperer, would be interested. Yeah, okay. If I don't ring you tonight, give me a ring. Do you know what I mean? You don't feel like you don't want to ring me. You can do. You always can, Al. Let's have a look. Mick McNicholas, Gillick, Janice, Rex Rock 1000, Scotch Mist. Great to see all you people in here. We've held like 170, 180 people, and without you guys, we've got nothing. So if you sat there, like I said earlier, give us a like, hype, and subscribe. Just show us a little bit of support. I've not got a lot of thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on the Ilkley Moor UFO ET incident? I don't know enough about it, Tim, if I'm being truthful. Is this the one with the picture of the alleged alien on the moor? I don't really. I live in that little bubble where I'm just doing my own thing, don't I? Drinking tea. All right. Let's have a look. Thanks so far from Gemma and myself. Thanks for keeping it clean. Yep, Lee. Thank you for doing moderating as always. Lee gives Truth Proof and Gemma as more support than they need to do, so I really appreciate it. Without them, it'd fall to bits because I won't be able to police this if it needs it at all. There's very, very few people coming here to be clever, and if they do, I always say to Lee and Gemma, just remove them. They're obviously not here because they want to watch what we're talking about. Let's have a look. Hi, Paul. Jeannie grants you one truth. Oh, if a genie grants you one truth, what would you want to know? The lottery numbers, yeah. It'd be difficult, wouldn't it? There's so many things. I think we could all ask that question. But if we stay with unexplained, I would dearly love to know, and I don't think I'm ever going to find out what these beings were that I saw in childhood, up to about age of 14. and then they started again in 1993 to 1998. I'd love to know what they were, what the purpose were, and we could throw that question out to everybody, because we've all got our own reasons for being in this subject. But if that were a question that I could get answered, that would be, I want to know what they were and what their agenda was. Because for me, it was just fear. All I took from everything that they did and that interaction was absolutely filled with fear. And it's what's put me on this path today. And so thanks for asking that, Brad. That's all I can say to it. Right, let's have a look at this. What about dowsing in a crop circle? Why not? Yeah, North Sea 58. Why not? I mean, no doubt people will have done that, I would think, you know, but it would be interesting, you know, because we've got a circle, haven't we? So where do you start? You'd have to string line it, wouldn't you? And peg it out, and so you didn't go in the same place. But it'd be interesting to see if there were any intersecting lines. Only time I've ever done this, I got some dowsing rods. I made them out of, one of our daughters, Gemma's sister, is a musician. She'd got an old music stand which are curved, aren't they? So I made 2 lots of dowsing rods. They were steel. And me and my wife Mary, we went to Willie Howe, and we walked round Willie Howe. Beautiful day, and they work. They literally turned in, and we pegged it. She'd walk one way, they turned in, and it was like an hot cross bun. So does that answer what I was talking about earlier, where we've got this concentration of energy? Because it really did seem like, you know, you got the line, you'd peg it, you'd go to the other side, although we couldn't string it all the way through because of the height of the burial mound. We know that in roughly the same position at the other side, you'd got a line going through, and then another one top and bottom. So that were interesting. So dowsing in a crop circle, why not? Yeah. Let's just keep going down, guys. Let's have a look, because time flies. Let's have a look. Paul, I haven't forgot about the UFO footage I filmed that I said I would send you. No problem, Mick. It's all good. I'm trying to work out how I can get it off the DVD. Listen, if you've got access to copying another DVD, do it, and I'll pay for postage. It's up to you. And you know, I had a brilliant book sent to me this week, and this guy wanted it to go to safe hands because allegedly this first edition's quite valuable, and he wants a surety. Well, I'm saying it on air now, aren't I? That I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to do that. I will look after it, and I will read that one, you know, because I get loads of books sent, and I don't read them. I'll be honest with you, not because they're no good. It's just time. But that old book I will read. I like books on folklore. What do you guys like? I'm doing a project with Studio, is it 211? I know his name, I can't remember abbreviation at end of studio, but we're going to start something on Forge Valley, and we're going to be filming it and doing a bit of work on that. So that's something else I've kind of taken on, but I'm looking forward to it. Folklore, it's going to be related to folklore. Right, let's have a look. Paul, do you think Howard Hughes may have been trying to contact you when the voice on the cliff said, what time you always invited him to come up? I don't know, Gillian. It's a nice thought, isn't it? Whatever it is that... I don't think so, let me put it that way. But whatever it is that's interacting with us on those cliff tops, at times it does not feel very friendly. And it's definitely a trickster. And everything it does catches you off guard. But in that part of the course, with everything that we're involved in, within the unexplained, it catches us off guard. It doesn't perform to order, and just when you least expect it, something happens. The voices are fascinating, you know, and we've all heard them, and not just as a singular where I've just gone, oh, did you hear that? Other people we've all sort of echoed it at the same time, sometimes 3 and 4 of us, that we've heard this voice, and it's English, and it's a spoken word. It doesn't sound like anybody in particular, except one time it actually sounded like Jack. You know, it actually sounded like Jack's accent and everything, but it weren't Jack. Strangest thing. I know we've jumped about a bit there, guys, but let's just go on down here. I don't think I'm going to understand this, Lisa. Has anyone come across a red box with a grid inside that's connected to UFOs? Odd question, but I've seen this exact thing. Well, we've thrown it out there now, Lisa, and I don't know what that is, but there it is. Let's have a look. Get together. Let's have a look. What's this? Gregor McNee, can we please all get together and force Paul into We're all into werewolvery shenanigans t-shirt, and that's Paul to design them. Come on. Listen, we're going to do some merchandise. We've got to do it. There's loads of people asking, and I think it's, I've had people asking for car stickers and key rings and the cups. I mean, these were done a few years ago. And we took them to conferences and sold cups and what have you, but normally it's just the books. Everything's time, Gregor, but I'm not moaning, but I like to fill it. I like to make most of the time. It's probably too much, actually, by getting up at these ridiculous hours that I get up. Right, let's have a look. Hi, Paul. Dave from Goal. Thanks for sharing our 5-hour report of the object 4 of us saw in total. Great show as always. Well, no, Dave, it's due to people like you. We know that what you saw weren't groundbreaking, as in on those photographs. But at least you had enough about you to spend all that day, 5 hours of it, with your son and various people that you'd contacted and highlighted where this thing was, and you'd filmed it. There might be a probable earthly explanation for it. We might even find out now due to putting this out there. But it's due to people like you that we get this, isn't it? So I thank you for sending it, and anybody else, just please keep that information coming in. We try as hardest to sort of put it out there. I'm sat on loads of reports, and I'm not being ignorant towards the people. It's just investing time in and getting to them and spending time talking to witness. Everything's time, and so I am moaning, aren't I? Just because I ain't got enough of it. No, for no other reason. We have to do this, and I'm a believer. I know that. Werewolfery. Okay. And that's with that. Thank you very much, Jan and Andrew. That's very kind of you. I'm just looking for more questions, but we'll just do that. Thank you very much again. Adam Reed, really appreciate that. Right, let's have a look here. Whitby is on a ley line 59. Oh, he's on ley line 59. I've just started dowsing and they work. There is certainly energy around the east coast. Yeah, well, if obviously we'd have to wait for crops to be cut and that. We don't go on any land that's got crops on it or anything. We're not into trampling on farmers' fields and things. But I suspect that there's an area, the one that I highlighted earlier tonight, where a lot of things have happened. It would be fascinating to find out if we have got some intersecting energy lines around that area. I reckon Linny and Pete and rest of people, Jack, Chris Mack, who comes up, I reckon we'd all be fascinated to find out if that's the case. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, got it, Michaela. It had slipped me until then, Michaela. Now we met this lady earlier in year with a friend, and his name slipped by me as well. Great guy, and what an interesting lady. Once again, allowed me to record her dogman, werewolf, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to go into it here, Michaela, so don't worry about it. But her report, which were absolutely outstanding, absolutely incredible, the thing that she'd seen as a young girl and carried it all those years, and it's still as vibrant and as vivid in her mind when you relayed that story to me. And once again, Michaela, it's people like you that make this channel worthwhile. So thank you, and I hope when you come through again we can meet up again, because we all enjoyed your company. Hold on, let's get down here. Lovely to hear from you, actually, because I'd thought about you the other day. So that's great. And the place where you stopped, that's fascinating. The place where you stopped, there's been quite a few reports of interesting and unusual things, and I know owners very well. If you are watching this, you know that I want to talk to you about the green sphere that you saw. And this place is in the middle of nowhere, so it'll be an interesting sighting. Oh, look who's in here. Alison, good to see you, Alison. So Alison used to do our moderating all the time, recently got married and absolutely supported us all the way through. We're great to see you, Alison. Let's have a look. Kim King, 9268. Dave Barker, good to see you, Dave. Dave's got some great stories. Dave should just come on here and talk about the the lights, the UFOs that you saw on Lighthouse Road. Talk about the light that you saw from the window overlooking to Speeton. People would be interested, Dave. We'll give it some consideration. I'd love to get you on here talking about that. Let's have a look at this. What is the history of smugglers at the cliffs at Dyke in Orkney when HMS Hampshire was stuck by a mine? 1916 Kitchener Broad people were thrown back into the sea. Kitchener on board people were thrown back into the sea. Flamborough and the surrounding areas have got a rich history of smuggling. You know, and there's caves, there's Smuggler's Cave, there's a rich history, and some of the caves, it's not just fiction, some of the caves do actually reach inland and come out in people's properties. I'm not going to say, I know there's a pub that's allegedly got a cave that goes down to the sea, so it's interesting, a rich history. Danes Dyke, there's allegedly a tunnel that leads to the Priory. Now, I've been everywhere in Danes Dyke. I'm not saying that something hasn't been filled in, but I can't see it myself. So we've got Bridlington Priory, which would probably be 4 or 5 miles away. 4 miles away from Danes Dyke, and allegedly there's a tunnel from Danes Dyke to the Priory. You dig down anywhere pretty deep in Danes Dyke and you're going to hit water. So I'm not sure. And what would have been the purpose of a tunnel to Danes Dyke? I don't know that purpose either, unless it's some natural water course that's been sort of chiselled out by running water over, you know, hundreds if not thousands of years. I don't know. But a history of smuggling, yeah, the area's got a rich history of smuggling. And that's okay. Let's have a go at some of these questions. Right. Paul, where do you hear the robotic voices? We're hearing them on the phone, Jane. I'm not so much myself. It's people who are talking to me on phone. And, you know, I've been talking to Linny on phone and he's heard them. Talking to Pete on phone and he's heard them. I've heard them occasionally, but other people are hearing them a lot more than me. Talking to Andy, Studio 211, I think it is, earlier in the week. Says, just heard the robotic voices. He didn't say that. He says, God, I can hear voices on phone. Says, what's it sound like? He says, it sounds like robotic. I can hear other voices. It's happening a lot. Talk to, what's his name? Peter Laws, who's got a huge YouTube channel, Into the Fog. I was talking to Peter Laws about 2 weeks ago. I mean, I'm leaving myself open if I'm making this up, aren't I? Peter suddenly said, what was that? I said, what? He said, I've just heard a voice on phone. And I said to him, make a note of it, please. Write the time down and make a note of it. I never heard anything. So other people are hearing the voices. I'm not. And I don't know what it means. I really don't, Jane, but throw it out there, don't we? Incidentally, Peter Law said he's going to come on channel. So we'll see what he's got to share with us, shall we? Let's have a look. Right, well, could these cliffs be haunted by shipwrecked sailors? Who can say? Maybe. Maybe not. You know, I don't know is the answer. But you're right, Gregor. The East and North Yorkshire coast, particularly the area peninsula of Flamborough Head. As I said a few weeks ago, that's why I got that book out. Where is it? There's more shipwrecks around that coast. This is an old book than anywhere else in UK. I don't think it's because of mysteries. I think it's because it's a particularly treacherous part of the sea. So, I need to. I said that, didn't I? Yeah. Sorry, I'm losing the plot, guys. There. Let's have a look. David Clark here. Paul, your thoughts on people who say that those that want to believe in UFOs, aliens, ghosts, etc., are just doing it to escape the mundane, ordinary life, like it's a case of escapism. Is it a case of escapism? Well, I suppose the ones who want to believe it might just be a thrill, David. Yeah, so you're right, a form of escapism. For the ones who've seen something that's truly inexplicable, then you either put it to the back of your mind because you can't wrap your head around it, and if you're that way inclined and you don't want to believe this stuff, then my mind's made up and I've seen it, but I don't want to go there. Or it puts you on a path where you're looking for answers. And is it David Clark that I met a few weeks ago? As in Dr. David Clark, that I'm not sure. But if it is, good to see you, David. And I don't know, Monday, some people, yeah, they just do it for the thrill. Yeah, and I think that could apply to all genres of unexplained phenomena. particularly what people class as what they call it ghost hunting. They're maybe just doing, some people, I don't want to be disrespectful to people that take it really seriously, but some people just could be doing it for the buzz, for the thrill. But if you've had a true experience, even if there is a logical explanation that you've not got to, if you've had a truly life-changing experience for yourself, then it does become more than just escapism. It becomes almost a vocation to look for answers. I don't know whether that answers anything, David, but there you go. Should we remember? What's this? We should all remember Nick Pope too. Did you hear about his dad's work? Not really, no. I've no knowledge of what I know. I think they were military based, weren't his parents? But other than that, I don't know a great deal. I always got on great with Nick Pope. Had no axe to grind with Nick Pope. Indeed, Nick, he were always supportive if ever I contacted him. So that's all I'll say on that one, guys. Let's just keep going down. Let's have a look, guys. Oh, another David Clark. What are your thoughts on the well-known Roswell UFO case? There'll not be a lot, David. I think everybody else has done it and done it and done it and done it. I know Philip Mantle has done lots of work on the Roswell UFO case. I don't know. I really don't. I haven't got lots of thoughts on it at all. I live in this little bubble. Anybody will tell you that I'm too invested in what I do myself to be reading about lots and lots of other reports, even though that's probably one of the most, if not the most famous case in the world. Was it alien related, a truly alien related case? I don't know. I think there's so many things that have muddied the waters now that we'll never know. And if somebody came out with something that were bona fide proof, there'd be somebody else that wanted to stamp on it. So I'm sorry, I'm not really helping you with that one, David. I like a truth proof mug. He's a truth proof mug sat here. No, t-shirt will be good. All right, Jane, we'll see what we can do. Let's have a look. Come on, David Clark, you've got some questions in here, David Clark. What's this at end at show? What are your thoughts on the well-known... I don't know anything about it. $1 million to one. Anyone can prove anything supernatural and no one ever won it. Well-known skeptic. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because that's the subtitle of book one, The Truth That Leaves No Proof. It don't mean it's an answer, David, does it? But it's difficult, isn't it? Because we don't have any proof of anything, really. Everything's anecdotal, isn't it? You know, you can be the most convincing person in the world, and I can tell you that these things happened to me in childhood, and in 1993 to 1998, it started again, and I received these scars on my back, and somebody's going to turn around, and my arms, and somebody's going to turn around and say, you could have done them yourself. You know, or anything, you're just making an elaborate story up. I waited a long time before I spoke about it, but everything, and I throw it out there to anybody. Has anybody actually got any 100% bona fide proof? We've got interesting UFO footage, you know, unidentified UAP footage with really interesting footage. There's no denying it. The thermal footage that Ian captured is brilliant, and likewise we've captured stuff. The policeman I were with, Dave Barnes, saw the object coming out of Filey Bay. I caught it when it was level with top of Filey Brig, and we filmed it then, I think, for 3 minutes as it travelled along, and went back into sea. We've got that on film. Is it man-made? What is it proof of? I don't know. But my thoughts on this, James Randi. Nobody would if that were thrown out now today again, if that question were put out there, or that offer were put out there, would anybody be able to claim that prize today? I very much doubt it, to be honest. Does that put me off? Does that want to deter me from looking into this? Not at all. And I hope it wouldn't deter other people. We don't want blind faith, do we? We don't want to be just looking we're out there and saying I believe. We've got to look for answers to some, in some shape or form. But no, I think if that question were put forward again today, we'd still be no closer to an answer. And that's how I think about it. I hope you haven't got another question, David. Right, let's have a look. I'm only joking. I'm looking at time here, guys, and Look at that, Lee Roscoe's done moderating and gives us £10. No need to do that, Lee, but thank you. We're just about at the end of it. There's a guy here plotting the ley lines. So number 57, the Rudston Monolith. Number 58, the Appleton line, Whitby. Okay, so the Yorkie. I mean, it'd be great to have somebody on the stream to talk about ley lines. I've not got a lot of knowledge of ley lines. I am interested because of the concentration of strange events in a certain area. Like I've said throughout this stream, up on the cliff tops at Bempton, if somebody came with dowsing rods and we didn't specifically point them in that direction, but just let them loose to see whether they could pinpoint any particular areas and peg it out and see whether there's a correlation to the strange and unusual things that we've seen and experienced up there. That would be interesting. There's a little experiment to do if anybody wants to have a go at that, and you'd have to wait till a bit later in the year. I mean, crops will be getting cut shortly anyway, but you know, we don't do it in the next couple of weeks because there's still crops in field. I guess that's what I'm saying. So guys, loads of questions. Not got through half of the little stories and accounts that I were going to share with you guys, but that's the way it is. We've had hold on, we've got Tracy. I know, Tracy, you've been up on cliff tops with us, haven't you? As a spiritual mediumship group, we are organising a circle to see what we can bring forward, either spirit, alien contact, or both. The same. Hopefully we will find some sort of evidence. Well, tell us about that evidence, Tracy. You know, some people's evidence is not actually evidence to other people. And I'm not labelling you specifically there, Tracy, but what some people constitute as evidence is evidence of nothing. But, Tracy, lovely lady, and I want to see results or hear about the results of that. You can come on here and tell us about it if you want. So, yeah, I'd be fascinated to find out more. Thanks for that, Tracy. Okay, guys, I think we've just about come to end of it now, haven't we? And thanks for support. We've done between 450 and 490 people all night. And really enjoyed your company. Next week, more of the same. I'll try and get a guest on. I've got a few people that have asked to come on, so it's me being a bit lazy, really. But other than that, enjoyed it tonight, and thanks for your time. Thanks for support. Don't forget, if you haven't done it, give us a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next week. Okay, guys, bye-bye. Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella came in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.